He fed a hungry alien cub. Moments after, the Tigress Mother returned. The wind on Kepler 442c never truly stopped. It moved across the red plains like a living thing, carrying dust, strange pollen, and the distant calls of creatures no human had fully studied yet. The mining colony stood in the middle of that wild land, protected by tall metal walls and bright floodlights. Everyone inside the colony knew one rule. If it isn't human, don't touch it. The rule existed for one reason: the veiled tigress. The colonists called them void tigers. They were the apex predators of the planet. 6 limbs, long striped bodies that shimmered faintly at night, thick armor plates along their shoulders, forearms shaped like blades, eyes that glowed gold in the dark. And they were fast. Too fast. Several early survey teams had learned that the hard way. Sergeant Elias Ward stood on the outer patrol platform, staring at the endless forest beyond the colony walls. He was not a new soldier. He had served on 3 different planets before this one. He had seen hostile wildlife, strange storms, even small alien raider groups. But Kepler 442c felt different. It felt like the planet was always watching. Movement report is clear. Came a voice through his helmet comm. Copy, Elias replied calmly. His voice was steady, but his eyes kept scanning the treeline. 2 weeks earlier, a mining rover had been found crushed like a tin can. The security footage showed only a blur of stripes and glowing eyes before the camera feed went dead. The veiled tigress did not attack often, but when they did, nothing survived. Elias climbed down from the platform and began his scheduled perimeter patrol. His boots crunched against red gravel as he moved beyond the outer sensor range. Technically, he was not supposed to go too far alone, but perimeter scans had been unstable all morning. He preferred seeing things with his own eyes. The forest ahead was tall and thick, with dark blue leaves and twisted trunks. Strange light filtered down from above. The air smelled sharp and metallic. Halfway through patrol, he heard something, a sound that did not match the wind. He froze. His hand moved slowly to his rifle. There was again a soft, weak cry. Not a roar, not a growl. It sounded small. Elias turned on his motion scanner. The screen flickered, then showed a faint signal about 30 meters ahead. Low mass, low heat, not adult size. He hesitated. The rule echoed in his mind. If it isn't human, don't touch it. But the sound came again, softer this time, almost like it was running out of strength. Elias moved carefully toward the signal. He stepped over fallen branches and pushed aside heavy leaves. The forest felt too quiet. Then he saw it, a shallow rock trench, half collapsed. Inside it, curled against the dirt, was a veiled tigress cub. It was smaller than he expected, maybe the size of a large dog. Its golden stripes were dull and dusty. One of its front limbs was bent at an odd angle. Its breathing was shallow. The cub tried to lift its head when it saw him. It gave a weak hiss. Not threatening, just afraid. Elias' helmet display, flash warnings. Apex species detected. Extreme threat classification. Retreat recommended. He did not move. The cub tried to stand, but it collapsed again. That was when Elias noticed how thin it was. Its ribs were visible under its fur. It had not eaten in days. Maybe longer. He slowly lowered his rifle, but did not put it away. He knew better than to act careless. Even injured, the cub could hurt him. He crouched a few meters away. The cub's glowing eyes locked onto him. There was no intelligence in them like human eyes, but there was something clear. Hunger. Elias felt something tighten in his chest. He had grown up on Earth in a poor district. He remembered what hunger looked like. He remembered watching stray animals fight over trash. Hunger was the same everywhere in the universe. Slowly, very slowly, he reached his belt and removed a sealed ration pack. The cub reacted immediately. Its ears flattened. It gave a weak growl. "It's just food," Elias said softly, even though he knew it could not understand his language. He opened the ration pack. The smell of synthetic protein filled the air. The cub's nose twitched. Elias broke off a piece and gently tossed it halfway between them. The cub stared at it, then at him. It did not move. Seconds passed. The wind moved through the trees again. Finally, the cub crawled forward slightly and sniffed the food. Then it swallowed it in one quick bite. Elias slowly tossed another piece. This time, the cub did not hesitate as long. It ate again and again, piece by piece. Elias fed it until half his ration pack was gone. The cub's breathing became stronger. Its ears lifted slightly. The glow in its eyes grew brighter. It studied him now, not just as a threat, but as something different. Elias felt a strange calm settle over him. Maybe this was stupid. Maybe this would cost him his career. But in this moment, it felt right. The cub suddenly made a small chirping sound and took one step closer. Elias stiffened but did not raise his weapon. The cub sniffed at his armored boot. Its whiskers glowed faintly as they brushed against metal. For a brief second, predator and human simply existed in the same space. No attack, no fear, just silence. Then the forest changed. It was subtle at first. The insects stopped. The wind seemed to hold its breath. Elias' motion scanner began to flash. Warning signals spiked across his display. High mass detection. Rapid approach. Extreme threat. His heart rate jumped instantly. He did not need the scanner to tell him what was coming. Branches snapped in the distance. Heavy footsteps shook the ground. The cub's head snapped toward the sound. It let out a sharp call. Not afraid. Calling. Elias felt the blood drain from his face. This cub was not lost. It was not abandoned. It had a mother, and she was close. Very close. The trees ahead began to move violently. Thick trunks bent and cracked as something massive pushed through them. Birds exploded into the sky. Elias stood slowly. His training screamed at him to run. But running would trigger a chase. He had read enough reports to know that. The cub moved toward him instead of away. It pressed against his leg for half a second before turning toward the forest. That small action hit him harder than any roar. The ground trembled. Then she appeared. The adult veiled tigress stepped out of the trees like a living nightmare. She was enormous, at least 3 times larger than the cub. Her stripes shimmered like molten gold. Her armored shoulders reflected the strange forest light. Long blade-like forearms flexed as she moved. Her glowing eyes locked onto Elias immediately. Time seemed to freeze. Elias slowly lowered himself to one knee. He placed his rifle on the ground. He raised his empty hands. The tigress inhaled deeply, scenting him, scenting her cub, scenting the food. The cub limped toward her and made a series of soft chirps. The tigress looked down at it, then back at Elias. One swipe from her claws would cut him in half. He knew it. She knew it. The air felt heavy. Elias did not move, did not speak, did not breathe too loudly. The tigress stepped closer. 10 meters. 5. 3. She towered over him now. Her shadow covered his entire body. Her eyes burned like twin suns. She leaned her massive head forward. Her whiskers glowed brighter as they hovered inches from his helmet. Scanning, judging. Elias closed his eyes for a brief second. This was how it ended. Not in battle, not in glory, but on his knees in the dust. Then something unexpected happened. The tigress turned her head slightly and nudged the cub gently. Not a command, not anger, something softer. She looked back at Elias one final time. There was no rage in her eyes, no immediate violence, just deep, powerful awareness. Then she stepped back. The cub hesitated for half a second and looked at Elias. Their eyes met again. Then it turned and followed its mother into the forest. Within seconds, they were gone. The trees swallowed them. The forest sound slowly returned. Elias remained frozen for several long moments. His hands trembled. He let out a slow breath. His comm unit suddenly crackled to life. "Sergeant Ward, we detected a massive biosignature near your position. Report immediately." Elias looked at the empty forest. He picked up his rifle slowly. "This is Ward," he said quietly. "Contact confirmed." There was a pause. "Engagement." He looked down at the empty ration wrapper in his hand. He thought about glowing eyes, about hunger, about the cub pressing against his leg. "Negative," he said finally. There was another long silence over comms. As Elias began walking back toward the colony walls, he could not shake the feeling that something had changed. not just in the forest, but in the balance between his species and this world. High above the planet, unseen by anyone below, a dark shape slipped silently into orbit, and it was not human. Sergeant Elias Ward did not sleep well that night, even inside the safety of the colony walls. He kept seeing golden eyes in the dark. He had faced enemies before, pirates, rebel militias, hostile wildlife, but nothing had ever stared at him the way the veiled Tigress Mother had, not with anger, not with fear, with awareness. The next morning, he stood inside command hall, helmet tucked under his arm. Commander Rhea Solano paced in front of him. "You went beyond sensor range," she said sharply. "Alone?" "Yes, ma'am." "You made contact with a Class Apex Predator." "Yes, ma'am." "You did not engage." Elias remained silent for a second. "No, ma'am." The room was quiet except for the soft hum of holographic displays. On the large screen behind the commander, thermal images replayed the encounter, the massive heat signature of the Tigress, the smaller one of the Cub, and Elias, kneeling. "You understand the risk?" Commander Solano asked. "Yes. If that adult had attacked you, we would have had to open fire. That could have triggered territorial retaliation from the entire species." Elias nodded. "I understand." The commander studied him carefully. "Why didn't you shoot?" Elias searched for the right words. "It was not attacking," he said simply. "The cub was starving. I fed it." The mother recognized that. A few officers exchanged looks. Commander Solano folded her arms. "This is not Earth, Sergeant. These creatures are not pets." "I know that," Elias replied calmly. "But they're not mindless either." Silence filled the room. Finally, the commander exhaled. "You're restricted to interior patrol for 72 hours. No outer perimeter duty." "Yes, ma'am." As Elias turned to leave, one of the tech officers called out, "Commander, we're detecting something unusual." Everyone turned toward the main display. A long-range orbital scan had just updated. A shape appeared near the edge of the planet's gravity well. Large, metallic, not one of theirs. The room went completely silent. "Identification?" Commander Solano demanded. "Unknown configuration," the tech officer replied. "Not registered with Colonial Fleet." The object moved slowly, deliberately, watching. Elias felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. This planet was already dangerous. Now something else had arrived. By evening, tension spread across the colony. Defense crews activated shield arrays. Anti-orbital cannons powered up along the walls. Civilians were ordered inside reinforced structures. Rumors moved faster than official announcements. Some said it was pirates. Some said it was a survey ship. Others whispered about alien empires that claimed whole star systems as territory. Elias stood near the northern wall during his restricted interior shift. He watched the forest carefully. It looked peaceful, too peaceful. Then one of the motion sensors along the outer perimeter flickered. Movement detected. A guard said. Another screen lit up. Thermal signature. Large, very large, coming from the forest. A few seconds later, the trees began to shake. Guards immediately raised their rifles. "Veiled Tigress," someone shouted. The massive Tigress stepped out from the tree lean. Floodlights locked onto her instantly. Gasps spread along the wall. She was closer than ever before. Not attacking, just standing there. Her golden stripes glowed faintly under artificial light. Elias moved forward instinctively. "Hold your fire," he called out. "She's inside engagement range," one of the guards argued. "She's not charging," Elias replied. The Tigress did not roar, did not crouch. She simply stared at the wall, at the humans. Her cub stepped out beside her, stronger now, healthier, its fur brighter than before. Some of the soldiers recognized it from the morning report. "That's the one," a guard whispered. The cub looked up at the wall and let out a soft chirping sound. Then something strange happened. More shapes moved behind the Tigress. Shadows, multiple heat signatures. Other veiled Tigress emerged slowly from the trees. Not dozens, but enough to cause fear. They spread out in a loose line facing the colony. Weapons along the wall hummed as targeting systems locked on. "Commander," a guard asked over comm. Commander Solano's voice came through speakers. "Maintain defensive posture. Do not fire unless they advance." Elias kept watching the Tigress. She was not looking at the colony buildings. She was looking above them, at the sky. Elias followed her gaze. The unknown ship in orbit had shifted position. It was no longer drifting passively. Its hull began to glow faintly with energy buildup. "Commander," the tech officer's voice cut in urgently, "the orbital object is powering weapon systems." The words hit like a punch. The alien ship was not just observing. It was preparing. Suddenly, a beam of blue energy shot from orbit and struck deep within the forest several kilometers away. A massive explosion shook the ground. Smoke rose high into the sky. The veiled Tigress reacted instantly. Some roared. Others turned toward the impact zone. Another beam fired. Closer this time. Trees exploded into flame. Wildlife scattered in every direction. The alien ship was clearing land, preparing for something. Dropships detached from the main vessel and began descending toward the surface. "They're invading," someone whispered. Panic threatened to spread. Commander Solano's voice came sharp and strong. "All units to battle stations. Activate shield grid. Prepare anti-air defense." Sirens began wailing across the colony. Elias kept his eyes on the Tigress. She was not retreating. She was not attacking the humans. She watched the burning forest with intense focus. The Cub pressed against her side. Another orbital beam struck, even closer to the colony perimeter. Shock waves rippled through the wall. Dust rained down. The veiled Tigress line shifted. For one terrifying moment, Elias thought they would charge the colony in panic. Instead, the Tigress turned her head slowly toward him. Their eyes met across the distance. Behind her, flames consumed parts of her territory. The alien ship was not targeting humans alone. It was attacking everything. The Tigress gave a deep, powerful roar that echoed across the plains. It was not directed at the colony. It was directed at the sky. More dropships entered the atmosphere, streaking like falling stars. The first alien craft landed beyond the burning forest. Tall mechanical walkers emerged, scanning and firing at anything that moved. A stray plasma shot struck near the veiled Tigress group. One of the younger predators fell. The Tigress snapped her head toward the impact point. Her posture changed. This was no longer observation. This was war. Elias felt something shift inside him. He opened a direct channel to Commander Solano. "Ma'am," he said quickly, "they're hitting the forest and the predators first." "We see that, Sergeant. They're clearing native threats before pushing the colony." A pause. "Yes, that appears to be their strategy." Elias watched as another walker advanced, firing into the trees. "The veiled Tigress aren't attacking us," he said. "They're defending their territory." More plasma fire lit up the darkening sky. "Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" the commander asked. Elias swallowed. "Yes, ma'am." The Tigress suddenly moved. She charged toward the nearest alien walker. Her speed was unbelievable. She slammed into its legs with massive force. Metal bent. The walker toppled. Other veiled Tigress followed her lead. They attacked with claws and coordinated strikes. The alien machines were strong, but they were not built for something that fast and that close. The battlefield changed in seconds. Humans watched in shock as apex predators tore into alien war machines. "They're fighting them," a soldier whispered. The Tigress ripped open a glowing power core and leaped away as it exploded behind her. Fire reflected in her golden eyes. The Cub stayed near the forest edge, snarling at smaller drones. Elias turned back to the commander's channel. "Ma'am, if we hold the wall and support from range—" "I know," Commander Solano interrupted. There was a heavy pause. Then she gave the order. "All units, adjust targeting. Support fire on alien forces beyond perimeter. Do not engage veiled Tigress unless hostile." Energy cannons along the wall rotated. Human artillery joined the fight. Blue beams and solid rounds slammed into alien dropships. The sky filled with chaos. For the first time since the unknown ship arrived, Hope flickered. Humans and predators were not fighting each other. They were fighting the same enemy. The Tigress leaped onto a damaged walker and roared again. Not at Elias. Not at the colony. At the invaders. Above them, the massive alien warship began charging a larger weapon. Energy gathered along its central spine. The glow was brighter than before. Stronger. "Commander," the tech officer said, voice shaking. "That energy output is not tactical. It's strategic." "How bad?" she asked. "If it fires at full power, it could wipe out everything in a 20-kilometer radius." That included the forest and the colony. Elias looked at the Tigress again. She stared up at the sky, as if she understood. The alien warship's weapon reached full charge. The night turned blue, and the beam began to descend. The sky turned blue, not the soft blue of daylight. This was a violent, burning blue. A line of pure energy came down from the alien warship in orbit. It cut through the clouds and aimed straight at the land between the forest and the human colony. For a second, everything fell frozen. Then the beam struck. The ground exploded. A wave of heat rolled across the plains. Trees vaporized instantly. Rock melted. The shock wave hit the colony walls like a hammer. Inside the control tower, warning alarms screamed. "Shield grid at 60%, a technician shouted. Outside, Sergeant Elias Ward was thrown to one knee by the force of the blast. Dust filled the air. His ears rang even through his helmet. When the smoke cleared, a massive crater burned where forests once stood. If that beam had shifted just a little closer, the colony would be gone. "Their testing range," Commander Solano said over the comm channel. Her voice was tight, but controlled. "Next shot may be directly on us." More alien dropships screamed through the sky. They landed beyond the burning forest and deployed heavy walkers, armored troops, and floating attack drones. The invasion had fully begun. The veiled Tigress did not retreat. The Tigress stood at the edge of the flames, her fur glowing in the firelight. Around her, other predators spread out in low, silent positions. The cub crouched beside her, no longer weak. Stronger. Ready. Another alien walker advanced, firing plasma rounds into the tree line. One shot struck near the Tigress, sending dirt and debris into the air. She did not flinch. She charged. Her speed was terrifying. She closed the distance in seconds and leaped onto the walker's side. Her blade-like forelimbs struck joints and cables. Sparks flew. The machine stumbled. Two more veiled Tigress joined her. They moved with natural coordination, attacking weak points. The walker collapsed in a burst of flame. From the colony walls, human cannons fired in support. Elias raised his rifle and targeted a cluster of smaller alien drones advancing toward the perimeter. "Focus fire on aerial units," he shouted to the soldiers near him. Blue energy bolts from the drones struck the wall, leaving glowing scars in the metal. One soldier beside Elias cried out as a blast knocked him backward. His armor absorbed most of the impact, but he lay stunned. Elias dragged him behind cover and returned fire. The battlefield was chaos. Alien machines pushed forward in organized lines. Veiled Tigress attacked from the sides, using speed and surprise. Humans held defensive positions and provided heavy firepower. It was not planned. It was not trained. But somehow it worked. Then the alien warship above shifted position again. Energy spike detected. The tech officer yelled inside the command tower. On the main display, the warship's central cannon began glowing brighter than before. Commander Solano's face hardened. "They're not targeting random land now," she said quietly. The targeting projection appeared over the colony itself. "They're going to wipe us out," someone whispered. Elias looked up. Even through the smoke, he could see the growing light in the sky. He opened a direct channel. "Commander, we need to hit that ship now." "Our orbital cannons aren't strong enough," she replied. "Not at this range." "What about the atmospheric ion cannon?" Elias asked. There was a pause. "That system is unfinished," she said. "It was never meant for full orbital engagement. How long to charge?" Another pause as calculations ran. 90 seconds minimum. 90 seconds felt like forever in a war. Outside the walls, alien forces began pushing harder toward the colony. They were clearing space, making sure nothing interrupted their main strike. The Tigress seemed to sense it too. She stopped attacking and looked up at the sky again. The cub followed her gaze. Then something changed in her posture. She turned toward the colony walls, toward Elias. Their eyes locked across the battlefield. In that moment, there was no fear, only understanding. Elias spoke into the calm. "Commander," charged the ion cannon. "If we divert power from the shields," she began. "We won't need shields if we're vaporized," he said firmly. Silence filled the channel. Then Commander Solano made her decision. "All units," she announced across the colony, "divert power to atmospheric ion cannon. Defensive teams hold the line for 90 seconds. Power across the colony shifted. Lights dimmed. Shield strength dropped. The alien ground forces noticed. They surged forward. Heavy walkers fired at the weakened walls. Explosions rocked the perimeter. Elias reloaded his rifle and took position at a breach forming near the northern gate. "Hold here," he shouted. Alien infantry, tall, armored figures with glowing visors, advanced through smoke. They fired controlled bursts from energy weapons. Human soldiers returned fire, the air filled with heat and noise. One walker broke through part of the outer barricade. Before it could fire again, the Tigress appeared from the side. She slammed into its leg joint, forcing it off balance. Another veiled Tigress leaped onto its back, tearing into exposed wiring. The machine collapsed just meters from the wall. The cub darted between debris, snapping at smaller drones that tried to slip through. Elias saw it clearly now. They were not fighting for humans. They were fighting for their land. And right now, that land included the colony. 60 seconds, a voice called over comm. The sky above grew brighter as the alien warship prepared its final strike. A focus beam began forming at its core. Alien ground troops pressed harder. One plasma blast struck near Elias, throwing him against the wall. His vision blurred. Warning alerts flashed inside his helmet. He forced himself up, across the battlefield. He saw the Tigress stagger as a drone blast grazed her armored shoulder. Burn marks glowed against her stripes. But she did not fall. She roared, loud and powerful. Other veiled Tigress answered. They formed a defensive ring near the largest breach in the wall, back to back with human soldiers. Alien infantry charged through smoke. Claws and bullets met them together. 30 seconds, came the update. The alien warship's beam began descending, slow at first, then faster. It was aimed directly at the colony center. Elias looked up at the sky. "Come on," he whispered. Inside the command tower, technicians fought to stabilize power flow. Ion cannon at 80%. Stabilizers failing. Override safety locks. Commander Solano ordered. Outside, the Tigress stood near Elias. The cub crouched beside a wounded soldier, snarling at approaching drones. The descending beam lit the entire battlefield in blue light. Heat washed over everything. 10 seconds. Alien forces tried one last push. Elias fired until his rifle clicked empty. The Tigress leaped forward and blocked the drone blast meant for him. The shot struck her side armor. She stumbled, but stayed standing. "Fire!" Commander Solano shouted. From the center of the colony, the atmospheric ion cannon erupted. A massive pillar of white energy shot upward. It tore through clouds and slammed into the descending beam. The collision was blinding. For a moment, it looked like the two forces balanced in the sky. Then the ion blast pushed harder. It pierced through the alien beam and continued upward. It struck the warship's central cannon. There was a flash brighter than daylight. The warship shuddered. Its glowing spine fractured. Explosions rippled across its hull. The sky filled with debris as sections of the ship broke apart and burned in the atmosphere. Alien ground forces froze. Some retreated toward dropships. Others shut down completely as command signals vanished. Silence slowly replaced the roar of battle. Burning wreckage fell across distant plains. Elias lowered his empty rifle. Around him, soldiers stared upward in disbelief. They had survived. The Tigress stood a few meters away. Smoke rose from her wounded side, but she remained strong. The cub moved to her side and pressed against her leg. Elias removed his helmet slowly. For a moment, human and predator simply looked at each other again. No words, no commands, just shared survival. In the distance, the last alien dropships fled into the sky. The battlefield grew quiet except for crackling fires. But as the broken pieces of the alien warship burned in orbit, one small section detached from the main debris field. It did not fall. It stabilized. A secondary command vessel, smaller, intact, inside the command tower. A technician's face went pale. "Commander," we have another signal. Commander Solano stared at the display. The smaller vessel-powered weapon systems. Not as strong as the first, but enough. Outside, Elias felt the wind shift again. The battle was not over. Above them, the surviving alien ship began charging its own weapon. The battlefield was quiet. Too quiet. Burning wreckage still fell from the sky like slow rain. Smoke covered the red plains. Broken alien machines lay scattered between the forest and the colony walls. Humans were breathing hard. The veiled tigress stood watchful and silent. For a moment, it felt like victory. Then the alarms began again. Inside the command tower, a technician shouted, "Secondary alien vessel is stabilizing orbit." On the main screen, the smaller warship hovered above the planet. It was damaged, but not destroyed. Its surface glowed with fresh power. "They're charging another weapon," the technician said. Commander Solano clenched her jaw. How strong? Not extinction level, but enough to destroy the colony. Outside, Sergeant Elias Ward looked up at the sky. He could see the smaller ship now, a dark shape against the smoke-filled clouds. A sharp blue light gathered along its underside. The atmospheric ion cannon was silent, overheated, drained. They had one shot, and they had used it. Elias activated his comm. "Commander, what options do we have?" A short pause. "Very few," she answered honestly. "The ion cannon needs at least 10 minutes to cool." They did not have 10 minutes. The alien vessel adjusted its position directly above the colony. Ground troops that had survived began retreating toward extraction points. They were not trying to win anymore. They were trying to clear the area, preparing for orbital fire. The veiled tigress sensed it too. The tigress stepped forward slowly. Her side was burned from earlier battle, but she stood tall. Her golden stripes shimmered through the smoke. The cub stayed close to her. Elias found himself walking toward the open breach in the wall. Other soldiers followed him without being told. The tigress stopped a short distance away from him. Again, their eyes met. He did not fully understand why, but he felt something clear. She was not leaving. She could have retreated into the forest. She could have saved herself and her cub, but she stayed, because the fire from the sky would not only kill humans, it would burn everything. Commander Solano's voice came over the comm system. All civilians moved to underground shelters. All combat personnel prepare for final defensive action. The words were heavy. Final defensive action. Elias checked his rifle. Limited ammo. He looked toward the forest. Many veiled tigress had retreated deeper into cover, but several remained near the tigress. They were not running. They were forming a loose circle around a broken section of wall. Humans and predators standing in the same line. The alien vessel's weapon reached full charge. A focus beam began forming. Elias felt heat even before it fired. Then an idea hit him. He switched to direct channel. "Commander, what about the mining laser ray?" There was a pause. "That system is ground-based and short range," she replied. "It was built to cut through bedrock," Elias said. "If we angle it right, we might hit the ship's lower hull. It's not designed for space targets." "It doesn't need to destroy it," Elias answered. "Just destabilize its weapon." Silence filled the channel again. Calculations ran. Finally, Commander Solano spoke. It would require manual targeting from the external control tower. The external tower stood outside the main shield area, exposed. "If the beam hits while someone is there," she added. Elias already understood. "I'll do it," he said calmly. "You're injured," she replied. "I'm still standing." There was no argument left. "Very well," she said. "All units, provide cover for Sergeant Ward. Mining laser array powering up." Elias removed his helmet and handed it to a nearby soldier. "If I don't make it back," he said quietly, "tell him it was worth it." The soldier nodded. The Tigress watched him move toward the exposed control tower. The cub made a soft sound. The alien beam began descending. Time was running out. Elias sprinted across open ground, while soldiers fired at remaining drones. Plasma blasts struck near him, sending dirt into the air. He reached the external tower and climbed the metal stairs 2 at a time. Inside, emergency lights flickered. The mining laser console powered up slowly. Outside, the Tigress suddenly roared. Not at him, at the sky. The alien beam intensified. "Sergeant." Commander Solano's voice echoed. "You have 15 seconds." Elias grabbed the manual targeting controls. The ship moved slightly. He adjusted aim. Sweat ran down his face. 10 seconds. The first edge of the alien beam touched the upper shield grid. The weakened barrier shimmered violently. The veiled Tigress below began moving. They did not run. They spread out around the base of the tower, forming a barrier. 5 seconds. "Fire!" Commander Solano shouted. Elias slammed his hand down on the trigger. The mining laser roared to life. A thick red beam shot upward from the tower. It struck the alien vessel's lower hull. For a split second, nothing happened. Then the alien beam flickered. The warship shifted unexpectedly as its stabilizers failed. The descending beam moved off target by several degrees. Instead of striking the colony center, it hit the already destroyed crater zone beyond the walls. The impact was massive. A shockwave rolled outward. The tower shook violently. Metal screamed. The Tigress dug her claws into ground as wind blasted across the plains. The mining laser continued cutting into the alien ship's underside. A secondary explosion erupted along its hull. The weapon core destabilized. Light burst outward from the vessel. Then the smaller warship tore itself apart in orbit. Fragments burned as they fell through the atmosphere. Elias was thrown against the control panel as the tower lost power. Everything went dark for a moment. When he opened his eyes, the sky above was no longer glowing, only falling debris and smoke. He slowly stood and looked outside. The colony still stood, damaged, burned, but standing. Below the tower, the Tigress remained in place. The cub pressed against her side. Human soldiers began cheering weakly from the walls. The invasion was over. For real this time. Rescue teams rushed to the external tower and helped Elias down. He was bruised and shaken, but alive. As medics checked him, he looked toward the forest. The Tigress was still watching him. The fire in her eyes was calmer now. Not war, not anger. Something else. Understanding. Over the next few days, the colony worked without rest. Fires were controlled. Wounded were treated. Damage was repaired. Alien wreckage was collected for study. News of the battle spread through human space quickly. They would call it the Battle of Kepler 442c. They would talk about bravery, about strategy, about survival. But those inside the colony knew the deeper truth. They would not have survived alone. On the third evening after the battle, Elias walked alone to the edge of the forest. He carried no weapon this time, only a small sealed ration pack. The wind moved gently through the trees. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the Tigress stepped out from the shadows. Her wounds were healing. The cub followed, stronger than ever. Elias stopped a safe distance away. He placed the ration pack on the ground and stepped back. The cub approached first this time. It sniffed the pack, then looked at him. Its glowing eyes were brighter now, healthier, alive. The Tigress walked forward slowly. She did not bow. She did not act tame. She simply stood tall and met his gaze one last time. No fear, no threat, just recognition. Elias gave a small nod. After a moment, the Tigress turned and walked back into the forest. The cub paused. It looked at Elias. Then it followed its mother into the trees. The forest closed behind them. Elias stood there for a while, listening to the wind. Humanity had survived because of weapons, because of courage, because of sacrifice, but also because one man had chosen to feed a hungry creature instead of fearing it. And in that simple act, a line had been crossed, not of war, but of understanding. On Kepler 442c, humans were no longer alone in the wild. They had earned something rare in the universe. Not control, not dominance, respect, and far above the planet, drifting debris carried silent proof of what happens when two very different species decide to stand together against the dark.